do you mean by that?
Well, you say why be in favoritism of an enemy? I'm saying maybe it's to work on becoming not an enemy.
But they so like, do you know why? I don't want to get. Do you know anything about Ukraine, about the Ukraine war? You probably are opposed to funding Ukraine for some reason.
No, I am not.
Okay. Um, I was just going to say that the reason why Russia wants Ukraine is because they don't want them to be aligned with the West.
Yeah, I'm aware. Yeah,
Like economically speaking, align with the West, not because of there's a threat because of NATO or something, but because they want to be able to take advantage of their economy for
yeah,
themselves. So
yeah.
like they are
I'm
de
against
facto
that. I
like
mean, I'm
like
all
economic
about supporting
competitors.
Ukraine.
That they want to be a what they call it, like a bipolar power. They are not good for geopolitical stability, for the status quo, for anything. They are an anti-democratic nation. There's really no reason to like. It doesn't really make sense to try and create allyships with dictatorships who are
Yeah,
explicitly, trying to come after your bottom line. It doesn't make sense, right? That's not what a strong leader would
yeah,
do. Okay, so Donald
yeah.
Trump is
I
not a
am
strong leader.
not.
His immigration policy is terrible. He tried to overturn the 2020 election. Biden has to decrease the inflation rate back to to a stable 2.5, 2.4. What would be the reason to vote for Trump?
He said, "What would the reason be to vote for Trump?"
Yeah, yeah. Because it seems like you agree with all the points that I'm saying. So what would be holding you off?
Um, I just think Trump would be a better candidate than Kamala. Not necessarily I like Trump, just more I feel like he's a better decision from the choices given.
Yeah, but why? Like, is there a reasoning for it, or like, is it like the vibe, or what?
No, no, not the vibe.
Okay.
I personally just feel from my personal experience that life was way easier for the American people when he was in office, as opposed to when Kamala and Biden are VP and president. And
Yeah, but the reason why it was
I,
difficult for people was because of something that is outside of the president's hand. So like you can say that like life was easier for people under Trump, but like if you don't recognize the fact that like it had nothing to do with Trump and it had everything to do with the period following it was outside of Biden's control. Like why would you like that? I'm sorry, that's literally vibes because there's actually no reason for it. Donald Trump was not good for the economy. He started a trade war with China. That's not good. That's inflationary. And that costs the American consumers. You don't want that kind of thing. And that kind of situation, like if you look at the economic proposals between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, Donald
oh,
Trump's are inflationary and are going to be increasing prices for the average consumer, while Kamala Harris is going to be revitalizing our housing situation. So like it seems like it's going to be way better for the consumer to vote for Kamala Harris, period, than it would be in relation to Donald Trump, who's trying to increase prices for the average consumer.
just every interview you've people have seen with Kamala. I mean, she answers the question without answering. Like I can't remember the interviewer's name, but when she was asked to if she'd been to the border, she said we have. He said you haven't. And she said I've also never been to Europe. And then
No,
chuckles it
she has
off.
been to the border once, but does she have to be? Why does she have to go to the border?
No, no, the border thing's not the issue. The issue is
Yeah, but do you know why they were
making
asking
Biden.
her that question?
I do not know the motive. No.
The reason why they're asking her that question is because there's this narrative that she was the border czar. Have you heard that before? That she was
Yes,
somehow
sir.
in charge of the border?
Yeah.
But you don't believe that that's true, right? You understand that that's not true?
No, I do not believe it's true.
So the reason why they were asking about how many times she's been at the border is because they were trying to blame her for the conditions that are at the border when she had nothing to do with the conditions that were at the border. That's why. And yeah, so like for the record, I agree that she's not the best like public speaker. She's been running a campaign like super late notice. She wasn't really popular before. like beggars can't be choosers at this point, I guess. But like if you look at the economic policy and if you compare it to Donald Trump's, it's just night and day. It's way better for the American people. It's better for the workers. It's better for the workers politically speaking, in terms of unions and stuff like that. It's better for consumers. It's also better for immigrants and legal immigrants, and the application process and the process of accepting immigrants, etc. It's better, and I would say it's better geopolitically. It's better for geopolitical stability. It's better, and I can't think of a single way it would actually be better under Donald Trump.
All right. Well, I mean, I agree with most of everything he said. If not the whole entirety,
But there's
as Kamala, the only things I've seen are in the sense of her in front of a camera being asked questions, answers a question without answering, and tends to laugh in situations where
if we want to be fair, today JD Vance was asked 5 times in a row whether or not he believes the 2020 election was stolen, and he refused to answer.
Yeah.
Right. So like, this is not something that's like that's not something that's unique to Kamala Harris, and Donald Trump doesn't know how to answer any questions. When he was asked the question of what he would do for helping American families be able to feed their kids, he rambled for like 5 minutes about tariffs that have nothing to do with it and would actually be worse for American families. He doesn't even know the policies that he's advocating for. He doesn't understand. He doesn't even know what a tariff is. He said that that China would be paying the tariffs. That's not how tariffs work. It seems like he doesn't know his policies. He doesn't know how to answer any questions. He'll never answer any question directly at all. So like saying that this is something that is like a Kamala Harris problem is just vibes. It's just not true. JD Vance can't answer a single question directly. Trump doesn't even know how to answer questions directly. Comparing it to Kamala Harris is like night and day.
I've off the points taken in this discussion. Yeah, I would agree. One definitely sounds better than the other.
Can I ask you about 2 other things?
Yeah, what is that?
You said you don't know if the 2020 election was stolen. Can I convince you of that?
Can you convince me of that?
Or that it was not stolen?
I mean, yeah,
that Donald Trump tried to overturn the federal election.
Yeah, if you'd like.
So you gave me a couple examples of and this is something that if you read the final report from the committee on January 6th, there's a bunch of examples in which legal experts that worked for Trump, that were appointed by Trump, that were doing investigations into whether or not there was election fraud. There are countless examples, including ones that you brought up, in which he asked his legal experts to look into it, and then they directly reported back to him that there is no evidence whatsoever of election fraud. And then in a period of a couple days, he would immediately say that there was election fraud after being told that there wasn't. You can find this on page, I think, like 14 or something on the from the final report from the committee. Every single they did investigations, and not a single district had any like election changing amounts of fraudulent votes. Sometimes people might vote for a dead relative. Sometimes people might vote and they're not actually qualified to vote or something. And most of the time those are all dealt with. But like, it's usually pretty small digits. Like, it doesn't really make a difference. So not only did he know that, but he was explicitly trying to convince people that there was election fraud happening. The reason, the way that he does it, and the way that why it's confusing for a lot of people, is I believe that there was something like a 64 or something accusations of election fraud. What you do is, and this is what Rudy Giuliani was telling him, what you need to do is you need to get them running around all across the country, scattering, until you find cases that they're not able to prove wrong or whatever. They found the vast majority. I think four of them. They threw out the vast majority of them, and the ones that they didn't throw out, there was just no evidence to follow it further. There was no evidence of any election fraud on any considerable level that was happening anywhere in the United States. But the point is to have so many accusations that people don't know what's true and what's false. So like even if they were to find like most of them to not be true, the average American is going to be thinking, well, did they find all of them to not be true? But they weren't able to find a single case of any legitimate amount of fraud in any single district, not just state, but any single district. And the way that Donald Trump responded to this was using Eastman. Do you know John Eastman? Have you heard of him?
No, I have not.
He was basically TLDR. He's basically like a someone who came up with this like kind of absurd, not legitimate, like legal theory that it would be possible for Mike Pence to deem the election fraudulent and then put it up to a revote with a new slate of electors. So Donald Trump had, I believe, 6 fraudulent electors, which are used to represent the votes in his favor. So for all of the swing states that he lost, he had fake electors that were going to be there saying, well, actually, based on this number, he actually won. And so his plan was to get Mike Pence to certify that, or to not certify the official vote. Mike Pence didn't want to do it. After Mike Pence refuses to do it, he calls for the January 6th protest. During the January 6th protest, when he, Rudy Giuliani were speaking, etc., before he goes up to speak, he's reported as saying that he was furious at the fact that they were using metal detectors and keeping a large amount of the crowd not in the actual crowd, people who came with guns, because people like Alex Jones and other people were making it very, very clear that this is going to be an insurrection. That's what they're telling their audiences. They told people to come armed. There were people organizing with a militant capacity. And Donald Trump was furious that there were people that were not allowed into the protest because they had metal detectors and they weren't allowing people into the protest if they had guns. He was furious. And then when he goes on to speak, he explicitly is telling people that we need to go to the Capitol. We need to make our voices heard. We need to convince Mike Pence to do the right thing. And if we don't do it, we might not have a country anymore. And then leads them to the Capitol. Then when they go to the Capitol and they break in, he's doing nothing. He's not saying to stop it or anything. He's watching it from inside the White House, inside of his lunchroom. He's watching it on Fox News while he's tweeting, and while it's happening, I think it was on Truth Social. If I don't remember, but while it's happening, while they're inside, he starts tweeting about the fact that Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what was right, and that the American people need to make themselves heard and get Mike Pence to do what was right. Immediately after that, that's when they started chanting, hang Mike Pence. The purpose of January 6th was to put pressure on Mike Pence to overturn the election with a fraudulent slate of electors, so that he could, off of a fraudulent theory that was created by John Eastman, to enforce him being president again, which is anti-democratic. It was explicitly trying to throw out votes of the American people who voted for Joe Biden. He was trying to throw that out there. So that tells me that he doesn't care about democracy. He cares about power. That is not good. When you have someone like that who is, and like everything that I said before, he's not good for the economy. He's not good geopolitically. He's not good for anybody. He's punitive and dangerous for immigrants. He's been saying that immigrants have criminality in their genes, which is explicitly explicitly racist. He's saying that Haitian immigrants need to be deported en masse, which would be tantamount to ethnic cleansing. He's saying that they're poisoning the blood of the nation. And they're putting out ads about if you don't vote for President Trump, then you might be killed by an illegal immigrant. So he's using fear mongering. He's anti-democratic. He's bad for the economy. He's bad for geopolitics, for global stability. He's bad. I can't think of a single thing that he's actually good for. So knowing all of that, I know that Kamala Harris is cringe, not good at speaking, and not the most popular person that you would want it for the Democrats. But why, with all of that information, would you be able to say that you would vote for Donald Trump?
Honestly, I think I would have to look into that stuff a little bit deeper before I'd be able to give that answer based off that information. Though,
That's fine.
I would, I would not.
Okay.
You know, based off of solely what you have said, I would not. I would agree with you wholeheartedly.
Okay. Listen, if you I'm totally happy to send you some stuff if you have any questions or anything. You know.
Yeah, man. Feel free, dude. I'm always open minded to learning new and more.
Yeah, sure thing.
But hey, I appreciate your time. Thank you for just having a debate. I mean, it could have been about whether or not you think fish are fish. But thank you, and you have a good night, my man.
Sure thing. You too, man.